In this episode, we're going to take a look at the Master Lock 140D. Hey folks, welcome back to Pugs Picks Locks. If you're new here, feel free to click the subscription button and hit that notification bell so you'll always be notified when I release new content like this. And if at the end of the video you've enjoyed what you've seen, please feel free to give me a thumbs up, click that like button. And if you have a question or comment, leave it down below. I'm more than happy to engage with you in the comment section and answer any questions you may have. Or if you have any suggestions for me on anything that I got wrong, I am more than happy to hear it. Okay, this is the first of a 4-part series on the Master Lock 140D, this cute little solid body brass lock you see before you. And in this first episode, this first part of the series, we are going to go over how to rake this lock open using a city rake, also known as an L rake. I'm not sure why it's called an L rake. If you know, please let me know in the comments. All right, we are going to use bottom of the keyway tension for this, and so we're going to use this standard L tension wrench. It's just a standard L bottom of the keyway tension wrench, and I'm going to go ahead and insert it into the bottom of the keyway. And you may have noted in my previous videos and in this one that I am left-handed. And I hold the lock in my right hand and I tension it with my right thumb, as opposed to a right-handed person rather, who might hold the lock in their left hand and tension it with their index finger. The main consideration here is that when you're picking a lock right-handed, and I'll just use this as an example, when you're picking a lock right-handed, you are actually picking the pins upward, and the core, you can see the keyway here, is oriented upwards, so the pins are moving upwards as you work the lock. For a left-handed person like me, holding it in my right hand, holding the lock in my right hand and picking with my left hand, I'm actually picking downwards. You can see that the keyway is now oriented facing down. Most of the diagrams that we see and most of the examples we see have the keyway facing upwards, like from the right-handed perspective. The keyway is facing upwards now. So when we're trying to visualize the inside of a lock, we tend to visualize it with the keyway pointing upwards. For me, it really helps a lot if I can actually imagine in my head, if I can visualize in my head the inside of the lock as I'm working it, so I know where I am within the lock and all of that. So if you're a left-handed picker, it's a good idea to start visualizing the core with the pins oriented down, with the keyway oriented downwards, if that makes sense. Hopefully I explained that well enough. If I didn't, please leave me a comment, and I'm more than happy to try to explain it better in the comment section. Okay, for part 1, we're going to go over raking this lock with a city rake, with an L rake. And you can see from the tool why it's called a city rake. It sort of has the profile of a city skyline to it. And when we say raking, that is actually a little bit of a misnomer, because when we say raking, we imagine something like this, where we're kind of raking the tool against the pins inside the lock. That's actually called scrubbing. Where you're scrubbing the tool and you're trying to get the pins to pop into place. It's a little bit more of a kinetic attack than quote-unquote raking, the raking technique I'm going to show you in this video. We also might envision something like that, where you're just quickly raking the tool against the pins in a single motion, and that's called zipping. And there is a zipping and scrubbing are absolutely legitimate approaches for attacking a lock, but this is not the tool for it, and that's not what we're covering in this video. Instead, the raking technique is this type of a motion. It's a seesaw up and down motion as you slide the tool in and out of the lock. So it's more of a rocking motion than it is a scrubbing or a zipping motion. So when we say raking, we generally are referring to this type of a rocking seesaw motion as we move in and out of the lock. But that left hand technique, that picking hand technique, is only half of it. The other half of it is to bounce your tension as you're going through and raking the lock, rocking your way through the lock. Bouncing the tension, because this raking motion, you will overset pins. And when you overset a pin, it means that the pin, the key pin, the part of the pin that touches the tool or touches the key if you're using a key, the key pin gets pushed up past the shear line where the core meets the body of the lock, past the shear line, and it pushes the pin up into the Bible of the lock. And when it is crossed the shear line, when the key pin is sitting across the shear line, it prevents the lock core from turning, and therefore it prevents you from opening the lock. Does that make sense? Let me know if you have questions. So when you overset a pin, the bouncing technique with your tension hand, bouncing your tension, gives the key pin time to drop back into the core, drop back into the keyway, and hopefully leave the driver pin up above the shear line in the Bible. So bouncing lets you hopefully manipulate the pins and deal with any overset pins that happen as you're going back and forth. You can see as I work this lock, I'm using my middle finger to guide the tool in and out of the keyway, and I'm using my index finger and my thumb to control the pick. And then I bounce my tension, and we just got the open. And celebratory swivel. Yay! Got it open. Okay, so let's do that again. We're going to bounce our tension, and we are going to work the rake, the city rake, in and out of the keyway as we're bouncing the tension. And there we go again. Another open. And since we got another open, another celebratory swivel. Yay! Woo. Okay, so there you have it. That is raking/rocking a 140D using a city rake. Hey folks, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, remember to drop a like and leave a comment or a question below. If you're new here, subscribe and ring the notification bell for more content like this. Until the next video, happy picking y'all.